Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning, everybody. We start our show from a busy Minnesota sports night. The Wild lead us off facing Vancouver. A Wild victory gets them into the postseason. Matt Boley started things to make it a 1-0 Minnesota lead. Vancouver got the next two. Now, the Canucks are terrible. They're tanking. It's 2-1 when Boley gets alone and scores and ties it up at 2. This is the prettiest goal of the night. A tremendous setup from Matt Zuccarello right on the tape of Kaprizov, who hammers home a one-timer. That is 40th. Boley's goal earlier with his 40th of the year gave the Wild a 3-2 lead 6.5 minutes into the third period. In the second period, that is a dynamite assist from Zuccarello. Wild will get one more from Ryan Hartman, who had 2 goals in the third period, including an empty netter. This, essentially the icing on the cake. You see Quinn Hughes do his little dipsy-do, which he's so good at. He added his 67th assist of the season to Hughes. Wild win it 5-2, and they are heading to the postseason again. So here are the up-to-date standings in the Western Conference of the National Hockey League. And again, reminder, the NHL playoffs are bass-ackwards here and how they do their postseason. Minnesota right now is 6 points behind Dallas. It's assured that the Wild are going to play the Stars in the opening round of the playoffs. Whether they host or they're going to Dallas is all that's up for grabs, and they're going to have to win the rest of their games. They have 7 to go. The Stars have 6, and they're going to need Dallas to backtrack here, try and chase them down. The other division, see, Anaheim is in the top spot there with Edmonton at 87 points. That's a full 21 behind Colorado. Tells you how unbelievable that division has been all season long. Frankly, it's been completely lopsided. And honestly, if you look in the Eastern Conference right now, Detroit, Columbus have more points than Anaheim and Edmonton and would be out of the postseason of the Eastern Conference if they started today. That tells you how lopsided things are in the East in the NHL as opposed to the West. But the Wild are part of the Western Conference postseason party. And with that, we say good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hot Mic on this Friday as we wrap up the week in style. It is a empty parking lot edition of our show with the holiday weekend set to come in. And we got plenty to get to here. We'll get you ready for each of the Final Fours. The women start tonight as they'll tip in Phoenix. The men tomorrow night in Indianapolis. We'll get you ready for that. We'll also give you a basketball update here in North Dakota, where after the first 3 years now of 3-class basketball is in the books. And I appreciate the state is not shying away from changing some things up. We'll get to that coming up later on in the show about some specific changes coming to the Class A girls tournament for 2027. That'll be later on in our broadcast today. Also, the Bison women's basketball team has had its first departure from its roster. It's not Avery Kunin, but it is a starter. That's coming up as well, as the portal officially opens on Monday for the women, Tuesday for the men. That doesn't mean that there's going to be a rash of announcements more, because I think we've already had over 1,000 that have announced their intentions. But officially, their names will go in at 12:01 a.m. Monday, and on the men's side, it'll be 12:01 a.m. Tuesday. So the rash of that will begin, and then maybe we'll find some destinations for players after that. So we'll get to that coming up later on in our program as well. We're also going to chat some Bison football in terms of recruiting. Big-time news there. As we mentioned last week, NDSU nabbed 5 commits. You're going to meet the first out of the state of North Dakota. There'll be an FBS Bison later on in our show. It is Friday. The Twins have their home opener today. Come hell or high water, they're going to play, knowing the weather is actually going to be warmer in the Twin Cities than initially anticipated. No snow. Rain is in the forecast for the game today with Tampa. We're going to preview that with our guy Cory Provus coming up later on in the show. Now, they played yesterday in Kansas City to wrap up their 3-game set with the Royals after they got their brains beat in on Wednesday night. I know the final was 13-9, but they were down 12-1 at one point. So they sent Taj Bradley to the mound yesterday to try and avoid a sweep against the Royals. And what has been a theme so far is bad base running with this team. Cody Clemens had an adventure on the base pass yesterday. Let's pick up the game, top of the second. I don't know what he's doing here. He gets a base hit, does Clemens. Victor Caratini is going to run the Twins basically out of the inning. Like, what is he doing? He's out by 5 feet here. It's not even close. I mean, that's a layup in terms of throwing a guy out. So now Clemens is on second base. Salvi Perez has him dead to rights. Instead, he throws it into center field. Clemens will come in to score for the first run of the game. Watch again. I don't know what he's doing. He's between second and third, and actually, if the throw is accurate, he's out by a mile again. We'll chat about that with Cory Provus in just a little bit. Cole Reagans, the tricksty lefty for the Kansas City Royals, was on the mound yesterday. Gets Tristan Gray to strike out there. He was over 4 with 3 strikeouts. Not great. He's got Buxton in an 0-2 hole here. The camera was all sorts of wonky there. The wind was playing havoc. Actually got wet with the fountain out there. They had to use this camera angle from behind home plate. Taj Bradley clocked in a couple of 100-mile-per-hour pitches. Here, a nasty pitch to get out of a jam in the 4th. It's a 2-1 Twins lead in the 9th when they finally got some breathing room with a Matt Wallner opposite field home run. His second of the series. 405-foot shot makes it a 3-1 Minnesota lead. Now, this is why Cody Clemens is in the lineup, because I have the question all the time, like, why did he make the team? It's because he has opposite field left-handed power. Goes the opposite way, as I mentioned, 390 feet, 4-1 Twins in the 9th inning. They weren't done. They got one more off of Steven Cruz. This is Josh Bell, who hits from both sides of the plate. He already hit one on Wednesday night. One more for good measure on Thursday afternoon with a 393-foot shot. Twins avoid the sweep as they beat Kansas City 5-1 behind another really good pitching performance from Taj Bradley. His first 2 of the year are the 2 games the Twins have won. He pitched the game in Baltimore last Saturday, won that one, and goes yesterday. Bradley goes 6 innings, allows 5 hits, and 3 strikeouts. Cody Funderburk, Cole Sands, Taylor Rogers, and Justin Topa closed out the game for Minnesota as they pick up their second win of the season. West Fargo's own Matt Strom pitched an inning in the 7th yesterday, struck out 2 Twins coming out of the bullpen yesterday. But the Twins avoid a sweep. They got 2 whole wins on the season. Now it's back home for the home opener coming up later today. Here's your matchup of what the Twins will send against the Tampa Bay Rays, as they will send out Joe Boyle will be the starter for Tampa, and Bailey Ober, all 6'9" of him, will get going for Minnesota for their home opener today, just after 3 o'clock for that game at Target Field. Each looking for their first win of the season. Again, weather is going to be an issue for the game today. Let's just look here quickly at the old Storm Tracker app for what they're saying for hour by hour for Minneapolis, because that will be critical here. So 3 o'clock, cloudy and 41. It looks like the game should be able to get in. So there's about a 10% chance of a wintry mix at about 2 p.m. So for the crowd that's going to sit there for the ceremonies to start, might be brutal today. Feel like temperature will be in the 30s, and there are plenty of tickets available, which says more about what the current state of the team is more than anything, more than the weather, more than who's there and who's not. It's fans are sending a message to the ownership of this baseball team that they're not going to come out. Opening day is one that usually you can, even the bad teams can bank on to say, okay, we're going to have a good crowd today because it's opening day and it's the start of a new year and we're excited about that. Yeah, that is, we'll see. That place holds 39,000. If they get to 25, that might be pretty good for today. Much more on the Twins coming up later in our first hour with our guy, Cory Provus. Excited to have him back again for our third season together. Now, the other Minnesota team playing last night was the Timberwolves. Now, Minnesota came into this after they got beat by the Pistons last Saturday, came back, beat Dallas on Monday, had Anthony Edwards back for that game, and then about 90 minutes before tip, we got word that Edwards wasn't going to be available for the game last night against Detroit, which meant now that he's ineligible for any postseason awards because he hasn't played 65 games. That's part of the CBA agreement between the owners and players to get eligible for the Supermax deal and your All-NBA. You got to play 65 games. We heard all about this with LeBron James because he's not going to play 65. Now Ant isn't going to either. So no Ant last night against a Pistons team that's playing without Cade Cunningham, who's had a dynamite year. That was the backstory for the game last night in Detroit, which started off all right. Mike Conley got the start, little step back three here. It's an early 12-10 Detroit lead. Julius Randle has to play out of his mind, especially without Jaden McDaniels. It's a three-point Detroit lead. Ayo Dosunmu. Gosh, I look how good he's been. Here's Conley with a triple. Gives Minnesota the lead. Now we move to the third quarter. It's a 4-point Detroit lead. There's a Naz Reid corner three. Cuts it to one. Kyle Anderson, who's been pretty good actually since they picked him up. The nice feed down low to Randall for the hammer. Wolves go in front by 4. Back comes Detroit, though. This Pistons team is awfully talented. That finish there from Ausar Thompson makes it a 1-point lead. Still a 1-point Detroit lead. Here's the finish on the drive from Dennis Jenkins. Now it's a 5-point game. There's a little alley-oop down low. That makes it a 6-point. What? By the way, what are those jerseys that Detroit are wearing? Those are not great. 96-90 when Jalen Duren goes down low and hammers it home. That makes it an 8-point Pistons lead with 3 minutes remaining. Then a pull-up three from Jenkins. That makes it a 10-point lead. Pistons go on and win it 113-108 the final as Minnesota loses for the 30th time. Now 46-30 with 6 games to go in the season. Randall paced the Wolves with 27. Again, without Ant, without McDaniels. We don't know when Jaden McDaniels is going to come back. Naz at 19 off the bench. That Detroit team is good. They're going to cause some havoc in the Eastern Conference as they sweep the season series. Dennis Jenkins at 26, Duren at 22. Duncan Robinson, former Heat standout, at 15 in the win. Here are the up-to-date standings now in the Western Conference with just over a week to go in the regular season. Right now, the Wolves sit 6th, a game back of Houston. Now, this may not be the worst scenario here because last night, the Lakers got boat raced by the Thunder. Not normally big news we mentioned on Hot Mic, but Luka Doncic got hurt in this game, hurt his hamstring, so we'll see. But right now, the Wolves would play the Lakers much like they did last year in the first round of the NBA playoffs. And I know what you're saying. That, well, wait a minute. Lakers got dusted by the Wolves last year in 5. how different are the teams. I think the Lakers are better than they were last year. I don't know how good the Wolves are from what they were last year, especially without Jaden McDaniels. It's a week-to-week deal right now with his injury. Houston would play Denver in the first round, and then obviously you have OKC and San Antonio in the 1 and the 2 spots, and the winners of the play-in tournament would get both the Thunder and the Spurs. If this were to materialize, that means the Wolves would have to go through the Lakers and then likely the Spurs to get to the Western Conference Finals. Personally, I like that road better than going through Denver because I think matching up with Denver is just, you've already beat them once in the playoffs. I don't know if you're going to get them a second time. And then you'd have to play the Thunder. You want to hold off on playing OKC as long as possible. San Antonio's got the unicorn, the alien in Wembanyama, but that is an inexperienced team that hasn't played a playoff series yet. And typically, as we've seen in the NBA, the more experience you have, the better off you are. So that's where we're at with just a week to go. No rest for the weary. Wolves are right back on the horse tonight at Philadelphia. We'll preview that coming up before we wrap up our show here on this Friday morning. We got a lot to get to here today. Our guest lineup is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. As I mentioned, Cory Provus will join us at 9:35 to get us ready for opening day at Target Field as the Twins get set to host Tampa. We'll chat about the opening road trip, sights and sounds from both Baltimore and Kansas City, the ABS challenge system, which apparently the Twins have enjoyed so far. That's coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, Andrew Matt will join us from Carrington, North Dakota. A week ago today, he announced his verbal commitment to play football at North Dakota State, part of the Bison class of 2027. He has the distinction of being the first member of the Bison class in FBS as a North Dakota native. Pretty cool stuff there. We'll visit with Drew coming up at 10. And at 10:35, Jason Harris will join us from Bismarck State, their athletic director. News yesterday out of Valley City for the North Dakota High School Activities Association that Bismarck State and its brand new basketball arena, the Babendick Center, will host next year's girls Class A tournament, being moved out of Jamestown and will be heading to Bismarck State. So that brand new facility, which is set to open later this year, will have both volleyball and we'll have a volleyball regional there, and we'll get the state girls basketball tournament. We'll talk to Jason about how this all came together, and now brand new facility and gets a chance to host the top Class A girls teams in the state next March. We'll do that at 10:35. That and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Friday morning. We'll take our first break. We come back. I mentioned it. Bison women's basketball has its first departure. Chat about Molly Lenz announcing she's done. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns after this. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mike off and rolling here on this Friday morning. Cory Provus will join us about 15 minutes to get us ready for the Twins opener. I mentioned it off the top. We had our first Bison women's basketball move of the offseason. Now, the men have had plenty. We knew about that last Monday with the announcement of the 6 that will depart. 2 we knew, 4 others decided to join on that. Now, on the women's side, I think there was a lot of optimism over the potential of bringing the top 6 players back for North Dakota State off of its Summit League championship team that they had this season, led by Avery Coonan, with Marissa Frost, Jossie Schiller, Carrington Asp, and then Molly Lenz is part of that, and Abby Kraswinski. Those are the top 6, with Coonan, Kraswinski set to be seniors next year, as along with Lenz, Frost be a junior, Schiller be a junior, and Asp be a sophomore. That's a formidable return, especially at this day and age at the mid-major level, that you're poised to do some damage. And then word came out yesterday from one Molly Lenz herself that she is not going to return next season. In fact, her basketball career is done. Lenz announced last night that she'll be, quote, finishing her academic journey as a grad student at another university. Sad that this chapter is coming to a close a bit early. I am filled with nothing but gratitude for my time playing this sport in my time at NDSU. I could have not asked for a better college basketball experience and have so much love for this place and these people. I'll be finishing my academic journey as a grad student at another university, but will always be a Bison. Started all 67 games for NDSU over the last 2 years. Transferred in from Illinois State after a really solid prep career at Eden Prairie High School. Signed and played 1 year for the Redbirds in Normal in 23-24. It was about 2 years ago, right about now, we had Molly on the show when she announced her intentions to transfer and come and play at NDSU. And was a really solid player. Maybe played a little bit out of position last year that they had her as a point guard, whereas NDSU was still trying to get that solidified. But with the addition of Jossie Schiller, that moved Lenz to the 3 spot, and she thrived there. Shot over 40% from three-point range last season. Really became a dynamic three-point threat for NDSU. Averaged 8 points over her career. And she will not be playing anywhere else. I've got already a couple questions on that. I already got an email in this morning asking me, is Lenz leaving to play somewhere else or just going to finish her academics? And it is the latter. She's not going to be playing anywhere else. And that, at least from what I understood, that'll probably come as a surprise for North Dakota State. I think they were counting on having their top 6 back, knowing that it could get volatile if Coonan decides to go elsewhere. We have not heard anything from Avery. With the portal set to open on Monday, I think it's probably safe to, you know what I'm saying assume would mean, but probably that she's going to return for her senior season at NDSU. Now, with that said, this is what their top 5 would presumably look like for 26 and 2027, with Jossie Schiller back for a junior season, Marissa Frost, who's been a all-conference player each of the first 2 years she's played in the league, as has Schiller. Schiller was the freshman of the year at UND. She was a second-team all-league player this year for the Bison. Krizwinski's just been super solid. Her entire 3 years, she's just been, as Jory Collins calls her, maybe the most important player on the team for what she means both on and off the floor. Coonan obviously would be the biggest piece of all being back, and you can't discount Carrington Asp. Now, does this automatically move Asp into the starting lineup with Lenz's departure? That's something to ask Jory Collins down the road off of her 6th Woman of the Year and Freshman of the Year awards that she earned this year in the Summit League. Now, the Bison are also set to have 2 players graduate, in Abby Graham and Audrey Martinez-Stewart. So we know those 2 departures were known. Now this is a 3rd, that NDSU is going to be active in the portal market to see what else is out there. And they can be maybe a bit picky on what players they want to go after. I've already had a handful of messages that is NDSU looking at Bergen Kinnebrew out of Bismarck, the all-NSIC Player of the Year for UMary and Rick Newman's team each of the last couple of years. Kinnebrew announced a few weeks ago after Mary's season ended that she was going to enter the portal with 1 year of eligibility. Potentially, I think there was certainly interest early on. Now, Bergen's got some other high majors also that want to talk to her. That will be sorted out. So, because I think initially when you hear certainly of a player of that caliber that wants to play at the Division I level, people try to automatically connect the dots. Sometimes that works. Other times it doesn't. But the Bison are in a position of strength here. They especially with Coonan coming back, that they can say, all right, can we find somebody that fits what Molly brought, perhaps an athletic guard that can help us? Because you look at what that Columbia team that came in here, man, they were athletic all over the place. I still contend they were misseeded in that tournament, but they had athletes specifically at the guard spot. And I think the Bison have some really nice athletes in the low post in Asp and Coonan. Can they get more athletic at the guard position is maybe something that the Brain Trust is looking at now. And there's going to be plenty of players out there. Past connections matter. Jory Collins had a previous relationship with Molly Lenz. They recruited her out of high school, out of Eden Prairie, and she opted to go play at Illinois State. But You look at the past portal additions that NDSU has made. You know, Taylor Brown, when she came in, Minnesota native, played AAU basketball with Heaven Hamling. Abby Draper had a connection that the Bison played Bradley when Draper was a freshman on it. Abby comes up here and finishes her career and has a nice 3-year run with the Bison there. That's the kind of connections we're talking about that could potentially work in this spot. So that's the first. Do I anticipate any more? Hard to say. I think that's probably going to be it, but you never know. I mean, portal, as I mentioned, opens on Monday. It'll be open for a couple weeks. It's not a month like it has been. And again, you can declare at any time. Officially, the paperwork has to go in on Monday. So we've known for a lot of these departures, it seems like forever. Considering with some basketball seasons ending earlier than others, some of them have had it out since March, like March 2nd. As we sit here on April 3rd, that's why it feels like some of them have been out there for that long. So we'll see. I'll be intrigued to see how selective NDSU is in this. They've added players each of the last couple of years. Obviously, Jossie Schiller was the big piece that they added after last season. That was a huge move that the Bison were able to add to its roster. We'll see what they're able to do this time around. As for the men, again, both coaches and their staffs are assembling at their respective Final Fours. The coaches' conventions are happening, which is a networking deal. In the old days, this used to be job-seeking deal. Now, all the jobs, for the most part, are already secure or taken. So now it's about, especially with the portal opening on Monday, is, okay, what can we address and who's out there? Because in the past times prior to this year, the portal was already open. So I'm not sure how much of a relaxing trip this was for coaches because they were worried about, A, retaining their team, and B, looking to add. Now it's a whole different ballgame with it opening up next week. So there's a tease for next Monday and Tuesday. Buckle up on the basketball front. There's going to be some movement with the Dakotas that we'll keep you abreast of as best as we can. Let's break. We come back. We'll shift gears and talk some Twins as they have the home opener today. Cory Provus will join us on an eventful opening week for the Minnesota 9. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns on this Friday morning. We're back right after this.
Deep to left center field. Back it goes and gone. The 0-2 pitch. He struck him out swinging at 101. Swinging a drive. Left field and deep. Back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
All right, it is that time on a Friday morning. Our guy Cory Provus joins us to get us started. The Twins have the home opener today at Target Field. Come hell or high water, we're playing baseball, it looks like, but might be chilly later this afternoon. 3 o'clock first pitch for the Twins and the Rays. You dressed up for us. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've just, all these years now, 3 years of doing this with you, Dom, and the majority of the time I'm in a backwards hat. I'm in workout clothes, and you have been nothing but classy from the start. And I said, you know what? It's about time. You know, your audience deserves it. Let's be a professional. So I thought I'd put a tie, and I have shorts on underneath. So I'm doing the old Sports Center look here.
Fantastic.
Like Rich Eisen, Stuart Scott back in the day.
Yes.
Even Olbermann and Patrick. So I've got this and then shorts.
Well, I was going to give you a hard time of not knowing this. You and Perkins were wearing suit coats yesterday, and it was a day game. What was that about?
So we are instructed to wear sport coats.
Okay.
Early on in the season. And then we get into the polos like we had for the Royals home opener on Monday.
Yeah.
That's my favorite look. We're the only people in the ballpark with the jacket on. But but it is what it is. Yeah. It's fine. But so we wear sport coats. We were ties today. And then, Jackie Robinson today will put on a tie again in special occasions. But for the most part, early on, we'll be in sport coat and shirt.
All right. Well, give us your today, opening day, emotions around this, and just how much you look forward to this as a broadcaster of getting ready to go to the ballpark today.
It's a special day. It's a day that I look around the ballpark and I see so many familiar faces. And especially where we sit at the ballpark, Dom, we have this great vantage point, not just of the field, but of the fans. Yep. the Legends Club is right beneath us. And so these are season ticket holders that have had the same seats, since the ballpark opened up in 2010, and you get to see them. And when I was doing radio, there's a season ticket holder. Her name is Linda Weens from Shoreview, and she would sit 5 rows in front of the radio booth, and she has her headset on, and we just over the years became friends.
Yeah.
And so if Danny and I were going on a tangent about something, I would see her shake her head. I'm like, okay, so it worked. So what we're doing, the nonsense we're getting into, okay, it's resonating with her. And she was often my target audience. When I want to throw out some random story or I don't know where I was going to go, I'd often use Linda. But just those people, I get the chance to see these faces that I've gotten to know, and not personally. Linda's an exception, but many, I don't know who they are, but I just know their faces, and we say hello, we wave. And it's great seeing families come back, and you recognize the people you've seen, that these were maybe, 5-6-year-olds a few years ago, and now they're teenagers, right? And they come back because it's tradition. They do opening day with mom and dad and grandma and grandpa. And so it is a special day. I don't care what the team is doing on the field. I don't care what the expectations are. The one day every year when there's just optimism and smiling faces, no matter what the weather is, today's that day.
I'm interested as well. Just, we were looking at the forecast earlier. It looks like it's going to be chilly, but maybe dry from what we could suspect for later today.
Yeah, I think we're okay. I was doing some homework this morning about Tampa Bay, and per the great Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times, the coldest first pitch in Rays history is 40 degrees. And that was in Boston back in I have it written down on my score sheet, and either 2003, 2004. So I think we're going to set a record this weekend. If not today, then tomorrow, about the coldest first pitch ever in Rays history. And I just can't wait to see what Yandy Diaz is wearing today, because he hates the cold. He hates the cold. He's a great player.
Yes.
He's He's like the strongest guy in the game. Like him, and he's a beast. And great hitter, leadoff hitter. He is going to have so many layers on today and tomorrow. So I always get a kick out of that. Those that have dealt with it before, it's one thing, but those that, even though they hate it, and they still dress the part. And I always get a chuckle out of that.
How about for you? How many layers you rocking today?
So I've got quite a few.
Yeah.
We'll have the windows open.
Yes.
So I've got long johns. I've got a long sleeve undershirt on here today, but we'll have the windows open. Probably after we do all the fancy stuff on TV, then I'll put my hat on. So I will have a beanie on today.
Got to do that. What I love about today, and I remember covering it for the newscasts up here. We would go down on opening day. Is the party on the plaza with just all day long. It starts at 7 a.m., maybe even earlier, for people to congregate, and I'm sure it'll be the case again this morning to get ready for a game that's still 6 hours away.
My boss was there at 5 a.m. this morning, and he was engineering the radio broadcast on this first road trip as well. So Andrew Halverson, the great Andrew Halverson, I was asking him on the plane what time tomorrow, and he said for 20 years I'll be there at 5 a.m. for breakfast in the plaza. Yeah. So I was listening to local radio WCCO this morning, leaving the gym, and the action sounded great. It sounded like people were having a good time, and people were honest. Like, I'm not going to the game, I just wanted the free food. Like, that's all part of it. And great. Get your breakfast sandwich, get your hot dog, and whatever you want at 7 a.m. More power to you.
I want to start here with what happened yesterday with Victor Caratini getting thrown out, and the base path stuff with Cody Clemens. What's going on through the first week here? Because it seems like the Twins are, I think, running to 6 outs. Is that even, I don't know if I have that accurate. There might be more than that so far on the base path so far this year.
I think it was five, which was leading the league. I think midway through the game. I don't know how the other games played out last night. So it's high.
It's way too high. Yeah.
Look, it's a byproduct of two things. They're going to preach aggressiveness. They want to maintain, even though the personnel is mostly the same, they still want to maintain the aggressiveness that they had the second half of last year. But the bigger part of it is that it's a slow team. It's really comes down to that. The Twins are not fast. They have a few guys, of course, that Buxton is still, despite being 32, his sprint speed was tied for the third fastest in the game last year. So he is on one side. We know that Keyshaw can run, James Outman can run, Austin Martin can run, but it's not a fast team. And that is something that I thought was going to be corrected a little bit more. I thought I thought the roster was going to change more than it did. And I'm sure there's multiple reasons for that. I thought they would try to be a bit more athletic and try to get more team speed to build off, really, Dom, what they did those last 2 months of 2025. Yeah. It didn't happen. So I think it's two things. That Shelty wants these guys to be aggressive. That's great. But if you're slow, you're going to be out. And I think that was odd by Caratini because he slowed down like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty routine play. That was surprising. The Cody Clemens play yesterday, which led to the run in the second inning. He joined Danny and Chris on postgame on radio. He said he did that on purpose. I don't know. What? I haven't asked him about it.
Right.
I have to follow up on that a little bit more today because he was going to be out by 20 feet.
Yes.
I mean, it's you're not asking Salvador Perez to make this hard, challenging throw. From what I understand was if he was going to break to third, but I that's what he said, and I'll take him at his word. But Perk said on the air, did he lose track of the count? That's what it looked like. Visually, it looked like he forgot what the count was and what was going on and how many outs because he was going to be out by a mile.
Yes.
And then it looks like a terrible play.
Yes.
So it worked out. It was a rare throwing error by Sal, and it led to an unearned run.
I got an email here, and we were talking about this actually off air about the camera mishaps yesterday. Can you describe on it as a broadcaster? How much are you being told in your ear about what's happening, and then can relate that to the audience?
It's a good question. I'm watching. So part of my job with TV, unlike radio, TV, I'm watching the monitor a lot because my job is to tell you what I see on the field, but also what you're seeing on the screen.
Yes.
So I go back and forth, right? And the way that the monitor was set up yesterday, we had just this glare coming in with the wind and everything that was going on, the cloud cover, the sunshine. I didn't have a great view of the monitor in the booth yesterday. So I was still looking at it, but I couldn't always have the cleanest look at what was going on. And then I learned in my headset from our director, Jordan Austin, that, hey, you're going to have to tell people that we can't use this camera. Our center field cameras are down right now because of what's going on. And what was going on was the wind was excessive yesterday. And as beautiful as the fountains are, as appealing as they are to look at, they're terrible for 2 people that work at that ballpark in a day like yesterday. And those were the 2 cameramen.
Yeah.
Because if you saw, they're in rain gear, man. The wind is whipping all that moisture onto not just their camera and the lens, but onto their bodies. I mean, they're getting soaked. So because of that, it just made it too challenging. We just could not use those cameras yesterday. They're doing their best to wipe off the lens, but at some point, you just can't do it. Now that the Royals are part of MLB, much like the Twins have been now for the 2nd straight year, I wouldn't shock me, Dom, if Kansas City makes a change with where those cameras are stationed. Either they move them or build some semblance of a platform. Because MLB, I think for the first time probably, was looped into how bad that can be. Certainly I was told the first 2 months of every season. So April and May, those conditions are not unusual for those camera guys out there. So it wouldn't shock me. I don't know about this year, but I think maybe for 2027, if that's taken care of.
Speaking of how bad it could be, that was the conditions Wednesday night. Watching that, especially at the end of the game, the infield looked like it was a pond out there. It looked terrible.
I was surprised that we played.
Yeah.
I was surprised that we kept on playing through that. And, it was steady. It wasn't a downpour. So Andy Fletcher was the crew chief. He was behind the plate, too, for the game. And it's his call at that point. The teams have no say in the matter. It's the umpire's call once the game starts. So he just felt like it was playable.
Yeah.
We can do it. We can make it happen. To me, they treated it like the final game of a series with a team that doesn't come back.
Not coming back? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that I understand. You don't want to lose an off day, but for a divisional foe, we go back again, I think, in August. I was a little surprised. I didn't think we played a doubleheader yesterday, just with the Twins having the home opener today, a late afternoon game. I didn't think it was going to happen today or yesterday. But I was surprised, and I was walking out with I was talking to Denny Matthews before the game yesterday, the Hall of Fame voice of the Royals. He told me leaving the ballpark Wednesday, he was walking out with a few players, and one of the pitchers said, and Denny was a hockey player growing up, He said that it felt like they were playing on ice. They just had no footing at any point, especially the pitchers, and it was a challenge. I'm glad we got the game in, and I'll tell you this: I said post game it looked like a dud, and then the Twins made it interesting. Man, they forced Lucas Erceg into the game, had the tying run on deck, and they made it fun. Those last 3 innings, the Twins made it competitive.
Wild game there. Let's break. We come back. We'll get ready for the home opener. We'll also talk about the week that was in ABS challenges with the Twins. Much more with Cory Provus on the Twins home opener. It's coming up when we come back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour. Back with Cory Provus. Twins and Rays coming up later today from Target Field, 3 o'clock for the Twins home opener to start the 2026 home campaign. It has been a interesting week for the ABS Challenge. We saw a walk-off ABS Challenge of the Orioles Rangers game earlier this week. We saw what happened over the last weekend, Cory, with Derek Shelton getting ejected on the he didn't believe that Ryan Helsley went and indicated soon enough. What has this been like for you as a Brock to try and follow all this the last week?
I love it, and today is going to be fun because what I've noticed is the novelty of the first one at each ballpark.
Yeah.
That the oohs, the ahs. So pay attention to that today at Target Field if you're watching the game or listening on the radio. The first time that there's a challenge and just how the fans kind of get into it. That first time especially. And so I think that I've really liked it. I'm a big fan. I think 2 challenges is good.
Yep.
I think if you ask hitters, and I wonder a guy like Justin Morneau, who I'm with here this weekend and throughout the homestand, if they want more. I think 2 challenges is good, but if that number will and should grow, I don't think so. I think the hitters are going to say, listen, what's wrong with getting it right? Right? We have all this replay. We want it to be right. Okay?
Yep.
I think the umpires are really good, too. I think what we're seeing here is that, you're going to have your few here and there. They're going to miss by, 5-6 inches. But for the most part, look what they're missing by, Dom. They're missing by 1/10 of an inch, 2/10 of an inch. They're not by much here. They're not missing by the width of a baseball. I mean, these umpires are really good. The Twins have been great. The Twins have been really aggressive with it. And now on Baseball Savant, which is, I just love this website, they keep updating the ABS stat, not just the results and who's been good, who's been bad, but equating it to run value. And the Twins right now have been the best in terms of the challenges that they've either went with, overturned, went their way, agreed upon, what have you, that they've almost gained 2 runs.
Wow.
2 runs
Holy
alone.
Cow. Just based on their ABS challenge rate so far. So that, to me, I think is a telling stat, because it's great that you're challenging all these plays, and you're right. Your catchers have a great idea of the zone. Your hitter's fine. But what does it mean? What's the context? If the context is that that's going to equate to runs, right? And for every 10 runs you score, gain, any stat you look at, any 10 runs, in theory, that equates to 1 win. So if the Twins get to a point here when their ABS challenge rate reaches 9.5, 10 runs, that equates to their challenge rate alone has led to a win. Wow.
So that's going to be a fun stat to follow, not just who's doing it, again, their rate, how good they are, how accurate they are, but what does it mean? And if the context is it means to gaining runs for your side, then that has a lot of value.
What's your thought on who has control over it, the catcher or the pitcher, in terms of asking for it? Because I understand the pitcher might be too emotionally invested in it to call for it, and I don't mind if the catcher has control. You have an opinion on that?
I mean, so far catchers are calling it more than anybody else.
Yeah.
I think I saw a stat going into yesterday. There's only been, through the first week, if you will, Dom, of games, not even, that maybe 6 pitcher challenges all year, and I think only 2 have been correct, and so Ryan Helsley was one of them.
One of them, yeah.
So the 6 compared to the challenge rate for the catchers, and the success rate is around 59%. Hitters are about 50-50. It's about flip a coin.
Yeah.
for hitters so far with this, but catchers, and the data backs up what happened in the minor leagues, what happened in spring training in 2025, that the catchers are the most accurate. And Ryan Jeffers has been great. I mean, Ryan Jeffers has been really good when he's been behind the plate with ABS.
I love it. Honestly, it's about getting it right, and it doesn't take long. All I ask is, why did it take so long to make this happen, you know?
Because I think the technology wasn't there.
Yeah.
I think they had to figure out, stance has nothing to do with it. There's a great article in the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago about this and kind of went behind the scenes about how all this went down. All the players were measured in spring training. Socks, no shoes, no cleats, no sandals. It was just their socks. And the amount of players, by the way, in media guides that were 6 feet, 6'1", that are now 5'10", 5'11", I'm like, okay, it doesn't make me feel as bad when people embellish about their height, right? Because so do you. You guys, all your big leaguers, there's like 68 players. I think the data was in this article. 68 players went from 6 foot something to 5 foot something.
Wow.
Just based on last year to what they felt they were, what they believe they were in height, to what they actually are.
That's
when they measured all these guys in spring training.
Wow. That's hysterical. Last thing before we let you go, is this the tallest pitching matchup we'll have today? 6'8" versus 6'9" today?
13 feet, 5 inches of dudes on the mound here today. So, yeah, Bailey's 6'9", and Boyle's 6'8". Now, Boyle throws hard. So Boyle throws upper 90s. You know, that's not Bailey's game right now. You know, Bailey threw more changeups than fastballs. And the fastball, we saw 90 a little bit, but only 2 swing and misses with Bailey in his first start. So there's no piggyback assignment today. Mick Abel is going to go tomorrow. The bullpen's fine. I think, you know, the guys that threw yesterday, nobody was taxed. I think everybody can go again today if needed. But we'll see. We'll see how Bailey does with this weather. And I think the Rays, it wouldn't shock me if the Rays are just looking to swing and get their at-bat over with. I don't see them being that patient today.
Yeah.
I think they're going to come out swinging. And the numbers say against Bailey Ober last year, first pitch was inviting. OPS was over 1,200. I think of the 30 home runs that Bailey allowed last year, Dom, 14 came with the first pitch of the at-bat. So I think it's not just the weather. I think also based on some numbers with Bailey, I think the Rays are going to be aggressive. Something that we dug up this morning already, Bailey's arm slot, he dropped considerably from last year. He's throwing it like a 27-degree. I'm going to kind of do some TV here. So he's not all the way down here, but he's noticeably lower than he was last year. He dropped about 5 degrees of arm angle. So we're going to dive into that. If that's I would imagine it's by design. I'd imagine that's trying to help Bailey because doesn't have the same velo. If just a lower slot leads to some better movement with some of his pitches, I think that's probably a part of it. We're going to dive into that a little bit more today.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Stay warm out there, bud. Have a great call, and we'll see you next Friday, okay?
You got it, Don. By the way, saw a bunch of NDSU. I think there was a volleyball tournament in Kansas City this week, and we saw NDSU. Saw a lot of NDSU folks, a lot of apparel at the hotel this week in Kansas City.
Awesome. Good stuff, bud. Thanks for the
right,
time. Appreciate it.
Take
There
care.
he goes. Cory Provus joins us each and every Friday at 9:30. Twins home opener with the Rays coming up today at 3. Again, 6'9" versus 6'8" on the mound for that one. Let's break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. You'll meet, speaking of NDSU, the first FBS homegrown Bison commit. Carrington's Andrew Matt will join us when hour 2 begins on a Friday after this.
This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 ready to rock and roll here on this Friday morning. We'll head up to Bismarck here in our next half hour to chat about the Class A girls tournament moving to Bismarck State. We'll get the lowdown on that coming up in about a half hour's time. But we wrap up our week here as we start hour number 2 with a pretty historic deal. Last Friday, our next guest announced that he's going to verbally commit to play football at North Dakota State. That alone is newsworthy. The second part of it, he's a North Dakota kid. That certainly adds to the newsworthiness. And he's also the first North Dakotan to commit to the Bison as an FBS program. His name is Andrew Matt from Carrington, North Dakota, offensive lineman, and he joins us here on the show. I know it's been a week, but even hearing that, describe your emotion when I just said that.
It's definitely something that I've heard plenty this week, but actually something a little extra that I heard is I heard that I was the first FBS player to ever come out of my school, and that's pretty crazy too. It's just a whole lot of congratulations from pretty much everybody in the school, all the adults in the community too that hear about it, and it's just kind of a huge deal for a lot of people in Carrington, and I'm just proud to be that guy.
Carrington's got a pretty good football history, which we'll get to in a second. So tell us about this recruitment process. For people may have said, I don't even know this guy. He doesn't have a highlight reel. Where'd he come from? Give us the backstory of how this all came about.
Yeah, I'd say I'm a little bit of a well-kept secret, but Randy Hedberg came to my school last year, early in the year sometime. It was probably around February-ish. I don't know, maybe January, somewhere around there. I'm not sure on the recruiting rules of when they can come to the school, so I'm not sure historically what's perfect. But he came to the school, and he just talked to Coach Smith, and he made sure I was going to be at camp that summer because, I'm sure they saw my frame, and they were like, well, can this kid move? And can this kid actually, play ball? So, just throughout the whole, spring, summer, I got to know Coach Winky really well. I ended up getting Coach Morgan's number, and then, I started connecting with Coach Shimura. I had a super good camp, and Coach Polasek saw that, and it kind of really sparked up stuff. And then I just kind of kept building my relationship with all the coaches, and then, the season came. I ended up playing pretty well for the first 2 games, and then third game at the first few plays of the second half, I got hit right on my right shoulder, and I went down. So I was out for the rest of the season, and something that Coach Polasek really commended me on, and what really helped him come to the decision to offer me to play football at NDSU is how quickly I came back. Instead of focusing on playing half-ass and kind of just playing out there one-armed, really, I focused on playing just playing it smart and kind of focusing on the prehab is what they call it, pre-physical therapy rehab. And I just worked on that as much as possible, and I came back and I was able to play a couple games of basketball, and I kind of helped out my boys a little bit there. And then Coach Polasek really thought that was a huge show of my character, and he decided that I could be a Bison, and I'm obviously going to take that opportunity.
So it was a torn labrum, correct?
Yeah, and I had a banged avulsion in my humeral head.
Oof. Did you know right away something was bad when you got hit?
Yeah, because when I got hit, I was kind of flying through the air. My shoulder was kind of flying around like this, and it made some pretty crazy noises, and then it popped back in when I hit the ground.
Jeez,
and it hurt real bad.
Yeah, I bet. Just describe. I can't even imagine that night or the next day. Okay, I'm aiming for a huge year. I want to get noticed. I want to get attention, and then you're going to find out you can't play again. What was that like?
There was I never gave up, but there was a little bit of a voice in the back of my head that said, this might be over. Junior year is super huge in the recruitment process, and I don't have that, obviously. So I had a little bit of a voice in my head saying, why did this have to happen to me? But, God has everything happening for a reason.
So that happens. It's probably easy to sulk about it and not, just go off and do your own thing. You decided you were going to be basically a quasi-coach for the rest of the season. Describe that.
Yeah, I probably had one practice where I was all sulky, and I was just standing on the sidelines, and I was kind of just sitting there on the chair. And then I remember you're going to think this is crazy, but the boys probably had the worst practice in all history. Coach Smith was furious. Okay. This kid named Evan Johnson was absolutely ripping through our varsity line. And at the end of the practice, the captains kind of talked to us, and Cody chewed me out. Cody was a senior this year, chewed me out, and he said, Drew, you got to do something, man. Fill up the waters, do whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I got chewed out, and I thought it was super funny. I was laughing because I was like, what do you want me to do, man? I'm injured.
Yeah.
And I ended up kind of thinking about what he said, and I took it to heart. And I realized that I can be so much more to the team than just the guy that stands on the sidelines looking all sad.
That's impressive. That's a good story. So the season goes, you're rehabbing. Is NDSU still in contact with you? And how did this all now come back to where last week you're at practice and you committing to NDSU?
Yeah, I stayed in contact. First few games, I got like my junior year highlights out to like Coach Winky. He needed them and whatnot. And I had to tell him, yeah, I actually just got a season-ending injury right after week 3. And they just like they just kept talking. And over time, I still went on like junior days and all of that. And I eventually like it got to the point where I was back to super quick recover. I went almost back to normal, right? Super quick. Right, already in March, I was playing basketball games. March 2nd, we played Harvey. First ever Region 2A win, by the way. I hope Randy's watching. And like, I think they just kind of commended the fact that I figured out what was best for me, and that kind of helped them come to the conclusion that I could be a Bison.
Describe what I saw you. Basically, it was an hour after you committed. What was that? Being there in person and telling them that, hey, I'm going to be a Bison.
Oh man, it was crazy because it was me, my parents, and Coach Polisek in the room, and he asked me like he gave me and my parents a couple minutes to talk, but I already talked to them beforehand like for months. So I was like, if they offer me to play, even if I have to walk on, I'm gonna commit. And Coach Polisek came in. He told me like what my scholarship is going to be, and then he's like, "I'll give you guys a few minutes," even though I didn't really need a few minutes. That we already kind of had our decision. Talked about it, and then I told them, "Yeah, I'm going to commit." And then all the coaches, all of them, were standing outside, like on the opposite side of the door. And then Coach Polisek goes, "He committed," and then like everybody's just kind of giving me hugs. It's took like plenty of pictures, smiles everywhere, and it was definitely a super energetic moment, super memorable, and it was just pretty crazy.
That's pretty good. That's a story to have for forever. Did you get a chance to celebrate that night? Have you done so over the last couple days?
Actually, no. I've had school events. I haven't been in school. Like aside from yesterday, I wasn't in school since last Wednesday. So I'm a nerdy kid. So I was in Science Olympiad that Thursday.
Good for you.
And then that Friday, I went to NDSU, committed. That Saturday, I had a prom. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, there's this thing called Future Business Leaders of America. And that's when you contacted me first about my interview.
Yeah.
I kind of like skimmed through your message and I said, would 1:30 work? And I realized what you said, and that was just being.
No worries.
And then on Wednesday I had choir. I'm actually all-state choir.
Awesome.
So.
That's fantastic. Well, tell us more about the Science Olympiad. What were you in? What did you enter in?
I was in this thing called experimental design. They give you just like a few objects, like a stopwatch, like a ruler, just a few objects, and you kind of gotta come up with an experiment, and then you have to do it yourself. Ours was based on it was just me and another person, and we did this thing. It was what exercise will raise your heartbeat most in 1 minute, and we found out that skipping is actually more effective than running.
Really?
So
wow. Okay, yeah. I would not have expected that. Wow, that's good stuff. We're learning stuff here.
I took a test on anatomy and physiology, and we were the #1 team in Class B, which landed us 6th in the whole region.
Wow.
But it's the teams that are above us are kids that prepare for this since November, and the thing is in March, right? So I mean, like, what are you gonna do?
You know what? But that's awesome to be well-rounded like that. That is exactly what school is all about. That's really, really impressive. You also are a pretty good athlete on the track. You runner-up last year. In the discus, pretty good in the shot, if I understand correctly. Describe this year and getting ready to get a chance to go back to Bismarck here next month.
I'm going to win. I hope some of my competitors are watching right now, because I'm going to win, right? I'm bringing it all. I'm winning both of the events. And I've had this in my head ever since I got second. I thought I should have won last year. I only lost probably about 3 feet. I'm going to win, and I'm going to break some school records while I'm at it.
Well, there we go. Like, there it is. Put it down the gauntlet here. I think, what is it, 153.8 you threw last year? That was a best, correct?
Yes.
So you're figuring you got to go beyond that then to win it this time around?
Yeah. So every year I jump probably about 30 feet. So I always have this idea of how far I'm going to throw before the season starts. And this year it's probably, I want to break the school record of 183.11. And I want to throw 185.
Okay.
So
there it is.
I think that's achievable. First meet in Hazen, maybe. I mean, it's going to be probably 30 degrees, so maybe only aim for like 160, 165. But
you mentioned off the top, the football lineage in your hometown is impressive. Obviously, the Klein Saucers are from there. Just describe that and the backstory of knowing the kind of football players that have come out of Carrington, North Dakota.
It's definitely a little bit of a burden to carry. Not really a burden, but just kind of something I got to live up to.
Yeah.
Big shoes to fill. And I definitely think I have what it takes. And also, like, in terms of the track records, I told you 183.11, Klein Saucer threw that.
Yeah.
He also threw the shot put record, which is going to be a lot harder to beat. But that's also what I'm going to aim for. And it's just kind of like Zach Harrington, too. He played for NDSU.
Yes, he did.
I'm just kind of hoping I can fill in their shoes and maybe even be better.
You know what, bud? Have goals is the biggest thing. That's fantastic. Last couple things here before we let you go, and I appreciate you making time for us. Email came in to ask, what position, like, where do you see yourself? Are you a tackle? Are you a guard, center? Where do you see yourself? What's NDSU told you about the next level?
I see myself as a tackle. I haven't heard too much from them about what position they want me to play, but I'm going to assume a tackle because, having, a 6'7" guy at the guard position or center position is probably not super efficient. I mean, of course, they could probably work around it. Ravens got a guard that's like 6'8", so I don't know.
Right, whatever works, right, going forward, correct?
Yeah.
Last thing before I let you go, and I really appreciate you doing this, just what is the outpouring been like? Has it surprised you, the amount of people that have reached out since you made this public last week?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Just even from like people in the community, there's a couple of people that like don't even care about football at all. Like it's just nothing to them. They're like, "Oh, you signed to go play at NDSU, or you committed to go play at NDSU. Wow, that's so cool. Congratulations!" And it's just people that I don't really know at all. I mean, I know everybody in the school, but like, I'm friends with everyone in the school. Our school only has like 300 people in the high school, right? And it's just people that are like completely different groups than I am. And they're like, "Congratulations!" And it's just super cool to me.
That's a big deal. Just describe for you getting back out, like when fall camp rolls around next August, are you going to rip the door off the hinges the first day of practice? I mean, how excited are you to get back on the football field?
Yeah, I'm going to be. I mean, I also got camp this summer, and I'm about to tear some up, man. I'm so pumped. Even just like for my high school team, just the upcoming freshmen, right? I was talking to Jackson Fandrick, and he was an 8th grader last year. I was like, "Are you a freshman this year?" And he goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Are you going to play football this year?" "Yeah, I'm probably going to be on the D-line, O-line." And I'm like, "Oh, man. Oh, man." Yeah, I mean, just like I had to go against Brock Jungles when I was a freshman. I mean, he was really good. He plays at Mayville right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, just kind of, I like to continue that, let the boys learn, but still beat up on them so they know who's boss.
Has this all happened a lot sooner than you thought? Did you think I'm going to go through the camp again and then sometime this summer make up my mind?
Exactly. I thought that, I think even Coach Paulsek thought that I was going to get the opportunity to commit all the way in like June, July. And I didn't even kind of see this coming until, it was a couple weeks before I heard they had something for me. And yeah, it's just it kind of surprised me because it was after they asked for like a workout video of the different exercises, and I ran a 40-yard dash in the gym. I ran around the 3-point line in the gym with basketball shoes on, and I was after school or something, and then both the gyms were filled, so I had to go to the wrestling room, and there were batting cages up, so I probably had like 15 feet of room from front and back, and then side to side I had all the room in the world. But I ran a 10-5-10 on that concrete floor in the wrestling room, working with what I have. And I think Coach P really, I mean, I ran pretty quick, but I think Coach P really liked the fact that I still kind of persevered through the challenges off of that, and I think he thought that was pretty cool too.
Well, this was great. I really appreciate you making time. I think our viewers and listeners got a hoot out of listening and hearing about your backstory. Have a great weekend. Good luck on track this coming spring. You set that record. You're going to come back on the show then, right? We got a deal?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, bud. Good luck, and thanks again for the time.
Of course. Thank you.
There he goes. Drew Matt from Carrington, North Dakota, NDSU's first FBS commit for the class of 2027. That was awesome. What a character he is, and he can play. I know for those that haven't seen him out there on the football field, that's something that we'll be keeping our eyes peeled when we get to next August. But for those that follow track, he has got the distance to throw and the shot and the discus, something we'll be watching. Of course, we televise the state track meet coming up in about 6 weeks' time from Bismarck. That's a guy to keep our eyes on when we get out there in about a month and a half. Great stuff. That was a lot of fun. All right, we got to get back on schedule here. We'll take a break, get a few emails in, get you ready for the Final Fours as well. For the women tonight, the men tomorrow is our Friday morning edition of Hot Mic Rolls On. Back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Our thanks to Drew Matt. That was fantastic. If you missed that, we'll have that posted later today because that was really good stuff with the kid from Carrington about committing to play football for NDSU. A lot of fun stuff there and different interests, which, you know what? In this day and age, that's what you want. You don't want to just focus on one thing. It's great to into choir, into science. That's well-rounded. That's what you want out of the youth these days. I sound like an old man when I say that, but it is accurate. Let's get caught up with a few emails here before we chat some basketball coming up this weekend. Hi, Dom. A geeky question I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts on. Based on the numbers you see, is it correct to say NDSU football has grown in popularity over the last 10 to 15 years? Do you think it's on pace with growth in the population growth in the area, or is it trailing or exceeding population growth? It definitely has grown in popularity. There's no doubt about that. Now, is it attached to the amount of people that now live here? That's an interesting case study that I don't have facts or numbers to speak accurately on. Anecdotally, I would say certainly there are new people moving here that I think caught the Bison football bug 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was as popular as it ever was. 2015, 2016, it was humming in terms of you want to go to the tailgate lot. I don't have a ticket to the game, but I'm going because it's the place to be. It's the place to be seen. That's where everybody's at. I'm just going to go, and then I'll go watch the game on television. That was peak popularity. I do think there was a lot of new families moving into the area there, so there's probably some attached to that. I certainly think not necessarily here in the Fargo-Moorhead Metro, out west, the boon in popularity you cannot ignore. I'd say from Bismarck west, the amount of people that I have met that travel 4, 5, 6 hours to come to a game is outrageous. It is crazy, the amount of attention around that. And that, to me, you cannot ignore. You cannot simplify that. So that is a huge part of it as well. But to answer directly, I wish I had better. I would tell you there's certainly a lot of new families that have moved in that caught the Bison wave of popularity there. Now, have they stuck around? That's debatable. I think certainly, obviously, we've seen the downturn in attendance for people going or not going to the games. That certainly has been affected here over the last handful of years. Dom, what happened to former SDSU quarterback Mark Gronowski after his great career at South Dakota State and a really good year at Iowa? I thought I would be hearing about his chances to get drafted. It's not out there. Doesn't mean he doesn't have a shot to get an undrafted free agent deal, because I think Gronowski will. But, yeah, there's not much in terms of buzz out there. And this, frankly, as we've heard, is a quote-unquote weak quarterback class that you only have the certain one at the top in Mendoza. Simpson's going to be somewhere probably in the first round. And then after that, Cole Payton may be the next up, and that might not be until the fourth round. Could be the third round, depending on what a team ends up doing. But at least here, 3 weeks out from day 2 of the NFL draft, not a lot of chatter there with the former Jackrabbit and Iowa quarterback. We'll see. That's, I guess, maybe surprising a little bit, but, he took a shot, played FBS football, lived out his dream, was, I thought, pretty solid at Iowa. But in terms of the next level, I thought he had a really good week at East-West Shrine game down in Frisco. But as of now, that nothing super materializing on the next level front. We'll see what happens between now and 3 weeks from now when the NFL draft gets going. All right, we're due for a break. We'll take it here when we come back. The Class A girls has a new home, and that's it. Bismarck State, its brand new basketball facility. AD Jason Harris about the Class A coming to the capital city when we return. Welcome back, everybody, on a snowy Friday morning. More is coming, so just buckle up for that. Looks like we're going to get hit anywhere 7 inches to a foot. Who knows? Just got to grin and bear it here, and then on the other side of it, it'll melt come hopefully Monday, and then we're back outside doing some spring sports before you know it. We are going to stay inside here for our final guest of the week, because if you missed it, the North Dakota State High School Activities Association earlier this week signed off on a state tournament venue change for next year. The girls' Class A basketball tournament, which was slated to go to Jamestown, instead is going to Bismarck. But not the event center. That's going to be busy with the WDA tournament that first weekend in March. Instead, it's heading to the brand new Babendick Center on the campus of Bismarck State College, which will open later this year, and they will host the State A girls. AD Jason Harris joins us this morning to give us the lowdown on how all this came about, because this is a big-time deal with this many tournaments coming to Bismarck. It's great to see you. Thanks so much for doing this. We were visiting off-air that this has almost been in the plan since the arena got the go-ahead to break ground.
As far as the state A coming?
Yeah.
No, actually, when we were talking off air, I misunderstood a little bit. No. Actually, the high school activities reached out a couple weeks ago and just asked if I had time to kind of show them the event, or the Babendick Center, take them on a tour. So I took them through there, and then Matt Fetch reached back out and said, hey, would you have some interest in hosting this if, high school activity signed off on it? And, that's why the Babendick Center was created, obviously for our college athletics, our students on campus, but also a place where, high schools, it's big enough, can hold those type of events. And that's what we want. We want people on our campus. And this is another avenue that really helps.
So when he asked you, Jason, what did you go? What was the first thing that went through your mind on hosting this?
Well, the first thing was, let me check the schedule to make sure we don't have any college things going on there. And where our basketball teams at that point are in the playoffs, and the playoffs have already been set for the Frontier Conference if they're out in Butte, Montana again. The second thing is, I'm the women's basketball coach too, so we got a lot of good people here on campus that I know if I'm not here will have my back, and we'll run a great tournament. But the other thing was exciting. That's what we want. We want people to want to come play in our Babendick Center, and we're going to make it a great venue, and we're going to treat it the way it should be treated. It's a state Class A tournament, and we're excited to host it.
So we have some photos here of when you guys posted of a little bit ago, the floor going in and everything. So for people that don't know, what's the seating capacity, and tell us about the amenities that are coming with this arena when it opens up later this year?
Well, it seats 2,154. The amenities, we the gym is going to be something special for teams to come and play in. We went and bought the NBA system for what we can do digitally on the floor,
Nice.
as far as the graphics, and Dusty Anderson, who's our communications guru and our marketing and everything that comes with the electronics, let's say, in there. He's really good at it, and he's going to get dialed in, and we're gonna definitely create a special event for these young ladies to come and play in. And we have 8 suites on the top that have been sold to businesses. It's kind of a unique building. I don't think there's one in North Dakota that there's some real nice venues in North Dakota, don't get me wrong, but I think this is definitely going to be right up with the top.
I know, visiting with your predecessor and Myron Schultz about this when it got signed off of this is going to be a crown jewel here. Now it's nearing completion. You're there. What is it like to see this come to fruition in the not-too-distant future?
Well, obviously, as the AD, I'm pretty anxious. I walk in there probably more than they'd like to see me, but the subcontractors are trying to get things done, and the last thing they want is a bunch of us walking in there. But it's hard to keep us all right. The changes you see from week to week and see it come together, it's exciting. It's April 22nd is when they're set to turn the keys over, and we're going to hold graduation in there on May 15th. So we definitely need it by the end of April. May 6th is the grand opening of it, and we've got a lot of people coming to that. So it's excitement more than anything. Anytime you get something new and something that was much needed on our campus. The Armory has been great, but it's served its purpose. Yeah. So we definitely want this to be a true community center for the community. We have not just the state Class A, but we have 2 boys tournaments coming in there, a district and a regional, the Super 8 regional for the boys. And also in the fall, we have a high school regional volleyball.
Yeah. That's just really, really neat. And for your primary job as women's basketball coach, though, what is that excitement like to recruit to this, knowing, hey, it's going to be a reality next basketball season?
Well, it is exciting, and it's when you can go out and share with these young ladies that I'm recruiting that, hey, you're going to play in one of the nicest facilities in the state. That's something, Bismarck's a great place to be, and now we have a kind of a crown jewel of a gym in the middle of it to recruit to, and we definitely have a lot of interest. And as a coach, anytime you have facilities like we have, it helps. I'll put it that way.
So now that this is a reality that you're getting the state A, is preparation already started? Like, what's on the to-do list for that? You have, I know, a million other things you got to worry about, but now you've got to get ready for a state basketball tournament coming next March.
Well, yeah, we do. And we've already had talks about it. Once the high school activities let us know that, yep, it's coming our way. We have a facilities manager, Ross Horner, who him and I have visited already. And we're going to start kind of getting things planned out, working with high school activities. And the nice thing is we at least we get our games to go through before, so logistically we kind of know what we want to do. But the biggest thing is we want to make sure that those young ladies that come and play in our facility, that it's an awesome environment for them, and it's something that they're going to cherish and remember. And the fans as well. We want them walking out the door saying, wow, that was really awesome.
I remember looking at, Jason, some of the renderings about the suite level, which is just different. I don't know many. Minot has a little bit like that since they renovated the Minot State Dome, but how unique is what you're going to have at the Bavindick Center that just other places just aren't going to have?
Well, I think the thing we have that most is pretty much the fans are pretty much on top of the court for the most part. It's a lot of venues that go a little wider. Ours is kind of the opposite. It's going to create a nice, tight, exciting atmosphere. It's going to be loud, and I think it's going to be a different viewpoint than most fans are going to get when they go to the high school games or they go to the other college games. It's just going to be a different look that I think is really the fans are really going to enjoy.
This has been just a whirlwind out here between this, opening this, the move to the Frontier. I mean, can you describe what your job is like on a day-to-day basis?
Well, we'll call it a good busy,
I bet.
But it is. We lot of meetings, and obviously you guys have had us on your show before. We have football coming in the fall of 27. So it's the sports or school. We're growing at a rapid race or a quick rate. So just making sure we keep up and getting all the sports dialed in. Obviously, with everything going on and the weather you talked about already, it's posed a few challenges for our spring sports right now. We're looking the region to where can we go play, and all the coaches or colleges are in the same boat. But it's a good time to be at Bismarck State. A lot of good things happening.
We had Coach Stutzreim on prior to Christmas, so give us an update on how the challenge of building the football team has gone over the last 4 months.
Well, he's doing a great job. We're going to have probably 40 young men on campus in the fall of 26 here.
Nice.
Our biggest issue is, making sure these young men aren't at the KOA campground, because we just broke ground this week for a new 352 bed dorm, and that's going to be ready in the fall or the summer of 27. So we are a little challenged with finding a place for all our athletes and all our students. The waiting list has started for the dorms, so we got to find some places to live.
Again, that's a good problem to have, I guess, right?
Yeah, for a college standpoint, for an AD, it's not so great, but it is. I mean, we're definitely figuring out a solution, and like I said, there's a lot of good people on campus that are helping us navigate these waters as well.
How much, and you're out there, people are aware, like in Bismarck, of, hey, the changes that are happening that are now interested that maybe weren't beforehand, Jason? They're like, okay, I want to go to see a BSC game, or I'm invested now that come this fall or next fall, the fall of 27, I'm definitely on board with football coming back.
It has been. The community's embraced it. And they've kind of, like you said, they've embraced all the sports up here, and new facilities. It makes recruiting easier, and it also makes recruiting regionally a little easier, because at the end of the day, we, Dr. Langang, who I've worked with quite extensively from the college here, he kind of said it best. He goes, you got to win North Dakota when you're recruiting. And that's something that we've made a point here in all our sports to really focus on, and we feel good where we're going with that. Football's definitely a big part of that, and Chris is doing a great job of doing that as well, as long as all our other coaches are getting on that page as well.
Last thing before I let you go, I'm a helmet jersey nerd. Do you have the helmet ready yet? Is that still in the prototype of what it's going to look like?
It is getting pretty close. The colors are kind of what we're debating on right now.
Okay.
But, we just put our first order in here, or it's coming in about a week, for our first 80 helmets and shoulder pads to get coming. So we're pretty excited about the way it's going to look, and we just got to get through the marketing and the branding and all that stuff. I thought you just went and ordered a helmet. I found out that doesn't quite work that way. There's a few hoops we got to get through, but we want it done right, and we want to make sure it's a true symbol of Bismarck State.
All right, let's make a deal. When you're ready to announce them, you come back on the show and you debut it. Can you do that for us?
That we can.
All right,
you bet.
That sounds like a plan. I appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this. Have a great weekend, and congrats, and we'll be checking in again soon, all right?
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Jason Harris, AD and women's basketball head coach at Bismarck State College, as the Mystics get that much closer. I mean, Brody, if you could cue up that video again of the court. It looks fantastic. The other renderings, and he's right, if they are, the seats are going to be right on top of the action. And I know the folks in Jamestown were not thrilled with me how I've said about the last couple of years about them hosting it. And it had nothing to do with the city, not the people, none of that. Frankly, I thought the Civic had, I know that they spent money, they got a new floor, and they tried to, that admirable in its own right. What I heard more than anything, especially with the A being there this past last month, was lack of hotel rooms, or the overcharging of hotel rooms, and then lack of things to do when you have 8 teams there. I already saw a couple coaches when this story came out yesterday already were thrilled with the move. And again, it's going to be taken as a shot at Jamestown, and it's not. But when you host a event like the State A basketball tournament, you're bringing teams in, you got to have things for them to do. What are they doing? Like if a team's playing at night, okay, so what are they doing from 8 a.m. in the morning? Coaches wonder this all the time till we play at 6:30. Minot has the mall to go to. There's other things to do. Obviously, Fargo and Bismarck have multiple things for teams to do. And I'm not saying those are the only sites that can host or cities that can host, but I'm pretty close. Look at it now. Football, wrestling, track, they don't move. I'll take my sites for the spring sports here when we have more time because we got to wrap up this segment, but it makes all that more sense. And it's going to, that amount of seating, what do you say, 2,100 will be perfect. I always thought, frankly, if you're going to be in Jamestown, the Newman Center would be the site to go. This is comparable, I would think, to how big the new basketball, and it's not new anymore, the arena in Jamestown, to what they're opening up at Bismarck State College. So next year, scoring at home, you have the WDA that same weekend as the Class A girls will be happening in Bismarck. The WDA will be at the Event Center, and then you'll have the Class A going on at the new arena at Bismarck State. They can handle it because they have that many hotels and things to do. But also next year, they will have the boys B, I believe, is back in Bismarck because the boys A is going to Minot. So they'll have plenty on their plates next year. And as mentioned as well, region volleyball tournament will be out there next fall. Good stuff. All right, let's break. We come back. We'll wrap things up. Week is done. We'll get you ready for a fantastic sports weekend highlighted by the Final Four. That's coming up when we come back. All right, wrapping things up here on a busy week. Holy cow, a lot of great guests. If you missed any of them, you can podcast them. I know many of you do. You can go back and watch as some have the extended holiday weekend. We'll be back on Monday to unpack the Twins opening weekend at Target Field. Our guy Sam Herder back with us as well on Monday because there's a new FCS member. University of West Florida announced yesterday they're moving up, so we'll get Sam's 2 cents on that. We'll have another week of Bison spring ball, so lots of good stuff to get hopefully with the melting of snow when we come back on Monday. We are at the Final Four tonight. Women's Final Four will take center stage in Phoenix. Those games are on ESPN. Here are the matchups you've got tonight. The first one with Connecticut. South Carolina is going to be a fantastic game. All number one seeds, followed by Texas and UCLA in the second game. UCLA has one loss all season. That was to Texas. I'm keeping my eyes on that one. Although the first one with UConn and South Carolina should be awfully good as well. These four teams were there at the Final Four last year. Connecticut has got that 50-plus game win streak they're taking into this. They're the odds-on favorite to do it. The men's Final Four tomorrow night in Indianapolis will start just after 5 o'clock. Here's your reminder. The games are on TBS, Illinois and Connecticut in the first game. Then the highlight matchup with Arizona and Michigan in the second game, about 8 o'clock tomorrow night at Lucas Oil Stadium with the winners to play on Monday night for the national championship. It should be some great basketball. You have potential for an all Big Ten final, with it being Illinois-Michigan maybe. You have potential with UConn, maybe men's and women's sweeping this thing. Connecticut trying to ride that wave after the miracle shot where they beat Duke on Sunday. That's the backstory heading in to this huge weekend of college basketball. We'll give you everything we can to recap that coming up on Monday's show. With that, let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. What to Watch brought to us by our friends at Northwestern Mutual. Okay, Wolves and Sixers coming up tonight, 6 o'clock on FanDuel Sports North. Twins, we mentioned, got the Rays today at 3. We showed you the pitching matchup with Joe Boyle and Bailey Ober, the starters today. And that South Carolina-UConn game at 6 o'clock tonight on ESPN. For the weekend, Michigan-Arizona, that's tomorrow night, TBS. The women's title game you'll see on WDAY Sunday at 2:30. The Wilder in action as well on Sunday at noon on TNT. Some of the things to be keeping an eye out this weekend. As we leave you with snow on the ground, why not a hole-in-one to say goodbye? This from yesterday from the Houston Open. Why not? Just nice to see green grass and golf and a hole-in-one. Thanks so much to our guests for joining us. If you missed any of it, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great holiday weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you then.